Weep Not Child, Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's novel published in 1964, centers on the dynamics between British colonists and native people in Kenya during a significant period. Set against the backdrop of the Mau Mau uprising, an 8-year struggle against British colonial rule, the story delves into the interactions and conflicts between these two groups. The Mau Mau uprising, which occurred in the 1950s, saw the British employing a divide-and-rule strategy to maintain control, a tactic aimed at preventing unified resistance and uprisings by smaller groups of people. Ngũgĩ's works, including Weep Not Child, present a pointed critique of British imperialism. The narrative begins with Njoroge, whose mother aspires for him to be the first in their family to receive an education. They reside on land owned by Jacobo, an African intermediary who collaborates with white settlers in pursuit of wealth. Among these settlers is Mr. Howlands, who holds substantial land ownership in the region. Njoroge has 2 siblings, Kamau and Burrow. Kamau is apprenticed to a carpenter, while Burrow, a World War II veteran, grapples with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Njoroge's father, Ntho, works on Mr. Howland's land and deeply values the land's care over financial gain. When local African workers strike for improved wages, Ntho fears jeopardizing his job by participating. However, he attends a strike meeting against his wife's objections. During the meeting, Jacobo's interference sparks violence, resulting in fatalities. Jacobo vows retaliation, leading to Ntho losing his job and uprooting his family. Njoroge's brothers fund his education after his father's job loss, allowing him to attend school. Njoroge's transfer to a different school, prompted by his father's unemployment, leads to his separation from Mwihaki, his friend and Jacobo's daughter. The novel thus navigates the complexities of education, family, societal divisions, and the impact of colonial rule on the lives of the characters. Mwihaki and Njoroge were once classmates and close companions, but circumstances have shifted, and Mwihaki now attends a boarding school for girls. Njoroge's embarrassment over his father's altercation with Jacobo leads him to appreciate the physical distance that separates him from Mwihaki. Meanwhile, the Mau Mau uprising unfolds, and Jomo Kenyatta, a prominent leader, faces trial. While many Kenyans hope he will liberate them from British rule, he loses the trial and is imprisoned. Protests on the Kenyan side intensify, yet the British colonialists respond with harsher measures to suppress them. The Mau Mau uprising directly impacts Njoroge's family when Jacobo accuses Ntho of being a Mau Mau leader, with the hope of imprisoning the entire family. The situation in Kenya worsens as British forces conduct raids, capturing and executing those suspected of Mau Mau involvement. Amid this turmoil, Njoroge continues his academic success, excelling in school and passing a demanding high school entrance exam. His village takes pride in his achievements and rallies to fund his education. Reconnecting with Mwihaki, Njoroge finds that their father's differences no longer hinder their friendship. However, Njoroge's respite from the turmoil is brief. Jacobo is found murdered, and Njoroge is forcibly removed from school by Mr. Howlands for questioning. Both Njoroge and his father, Ntho, endure brutal beatings before being released. It is eventually revealed that Njoroge's brothers are responsible for Jacobo's death, and Burrow is a leader in the Mau Mau movement. Tragically, their father succumbs to his injuries. Njoroge learns that his father had defended Kamau and Burrow, despite their loss of respect for him after his job loss. With Kamau imprisoned, Njoroge assumes the role of provider for both of his mothers. Forced to abandon his education and faith, Njoroge's life takes a drastic turn as he grapples with the dire circumstances that surround him. Njoroge finds himself deeply in love with Mwihaki and decides to express his feelings to her, even proposing that they leave together. However, Mwihaki's commitment to staying in Kenya, especially after Jacobo's death, leads her to decline his offer. The weight of his emotions drives Njoroge to a desperate act. He attempts to take his own life. His mothers intervene in time to prevent the tragedy, but Njoroge spirals further into despair and guilt. In addition to the overarching theme of families fractured by British colonial rule, Njoroge's personal journey illustrates how systemic oppression can profoundly impact an individual's life. As a young boy, Njoroge possesses a bright and promising future, supported by his father's success and his own academic prowess. Yet, as his family and community become entangled, willingly or unwillingly, in the Mau Mau uprising, and Njoroge's prospects are irrevocably altered. The brutal actions of the British military, coupled with the choices made by those benefiting from colonial rule, tear apart Njoroge's family and erode his faith in both God and his own will to survive. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.